You've probably had a nightmare where something was chasing you and you woke up sweating, heart pounding, convinced for a second that it was real. That feeling is the whole story because your brain genuinely could not tell the difference. This video is about nightmares, why you have them, what they're actually doing inside your head, and a few things that are going to genuinely surprise you. Most people think nightmares are just your brain misfiring, like a glitch in the system. But the science tells a completely different story, some of it fascinating, some of it unsettling, and one part of it could actually change how long you live. We're going to cover the real reasons nightmares happen, what they reveal about your health, and a treatment that works that almost nobody knows about. Let's start with something that sounds almost too cool to be true. Neuroscientist Antti Revonsuo proposed that dreaming is basically a biological flight simulator. While you sleep, your brain builds a virtual reality and runs threat scenarios inside it, being chased, falling, being attacked, so that if those things ever happen for real, you've already practiced surviving them. Look at the most common nightmare themes across every culture on Earth, and they're almost all the same: being chased, being attacked, losing control. That's not a coincidence. It's the same software running on billions of different machines. The twist is we don't face the same predators the simulation was designed for, so the brain just redirects it. Ancient predator avoidance training, now running on your anxiety about work, relationships, and everything else life throws at you. So nightmares aren't a glitch, they're a drill. But the drill doesn't always finish. During normal REM dreaming, your brain replays emotional memories with a key stress chemical called noradrenaline dialed way down. That means you can process fear without reliving it at full intensity, like watching a scary movie with the volume turned down. Your brain files the experience away properly, strips the raw edge off it, and moves on. That's the system working. But when a nightmare wakes you up, it interrupts that process. Waking up feels like relief, but it actually signals to your brain that the threat was real, that it was a genuine emergency that never got resolved. The repair job doesn't finish. Keep that happening night after night, and the emotional weight your brain was trying to process just sits there, unprocessed. The PTSD version of this goes somewhere much darker. Most people assume PTSD nightmares are regular nightmares turned up to maximum. They're actually fundamentally different. Normal nightmares are fragmented and symbolic, with the usual dream logic. PTSD nightmares are realistic. They can mirror an actual traumatic event almost exactly, and they happen across all stages of sleep, not just REM. They're less dreams than flashbacks happening while you're unconscious. Because the overnight repair process isn't working for people with PTSD, the memory never gets diffused and the stress chemical never gets dialed down. So when something triggers a flashback, a car backfiring, a specific smell, the brain relives the whole thing at full intensity because it was never properly stored in the first place. The nightmare isn't just a symptom of PTSD, it's part of why recovery stalls. Here's a fact that changes how you think about nightmares entirely. Frequent nightmares are a stronger predictor of early death than smoking. Researchers presenting at the American Academy of Neurology found the effect size for frequent nightmares was greater than current smoking, obesity, and hypertension combined. The mechanism: your sleeping brain cannot tell a dream from reality. That's why nightmares wake you up gasping, heart hammering, your fight or flight response fired because as far as your body was concerned, you were actually in danger. Every nightmare triggers a real stress response, cortisol floods your system, and chronic cortisol elevation is directly linked to faster cellular aging. A nightmare is a real emergency happening to a body that doesn't know it's asleep. Have them frequently, and your body is living through emergencies every single night. It gets harder to escape from here. Stress releases cortisol. High cortisol fragments your sleep and makes REM more intense. That intensity produces more nightmares, which make you sleep worse, which makes you more stressed, which releases more cortisol, which makes the nightmares worse. The mechanism meant to help you process fear gets sabotaged by the exact same anxiety it's trying to fix. Hardest exactly when life is hardest, which is exactly when you need it to work. There's a flip side, though, and it's genuinely one of the more interesting things in sleep science. People who have the most nightmares also tend to be the most creative. Studies have found frequent nightmare sufferers show greater creative aptitude and artistic expression and experience a dreamlike quality to their waking thoughts. Frankenstein came from Mary Shelley's nightmare. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde came from Robert Louis Stevenson's. Dracula is believed to as well. Researchers call the trait thin boundaries, a lower wall between your inner world and the outside one. That openness means the world hits you harder, your imagination hits you harder, and the line between waking and dreaming is blurrier than for most people. The same door that lets nightmares flood in is the one that lets extraordinary creativity flood out. If you're finding this interesting, there's a video on this channel about how your brain builds memories during sleep. It connects directly to all of this and goes deep on the REM side, worth watching right after this one. Now here's the one most people have never heard, and it might be the most important. REM sleep behavior disorder is a condition where, instead of being paralyzed during dreaming like you're supposed to be, people physically act out their dreams, shouting, thrashing, sometimes getting out of bed, characterized by vivid, often violent nightmares. Researchers have confirmed it's an early stage of neurodegenerative diseases, including Parkinson's and dementia with Lewy bodies. The window between it appearing and a Parkinson's diagnosis can be years, potentially decades. Separately, researchers have found a sudden increase in nightmares can signal the onset of autoimmune diseases like lupus, showing up as an early warning before a flare. Your sleeping brain may be detecting changes in your body long before any test your doctor runs can catch them. So what do you do with all of this? In 2018, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine started recommending lucid dreaming therapy for nightmare disorders, including PTSD-related ones. The idea, if you become aware you're dreaming while inside the nightmare, you can consciously rewrite the ending from the inside. For people who struggle to reach that state naturally, researchers found galantamine, an Alzheimer's drug used for memory impairment, increases lucid dream frequency by up to 42% compared to placebo. The treatment exists and has been validated, yet most people dealing with chronic nightmares have never been told it's an option. So here's where we land. Nightmares are not your brain breaking down. They're a fear simulation system that's been running since before humans were fully human, designed to keep you alive by rehearsing danger. When they work properly, they're part of how your brain processes emotion overnight. When they get interrupted, by waking up, by trauma, by chronic stress, the repair job doesn't finish, and the unprocessed fear keeps cycling back. They can signal illness years before doctors detect it. They can age your body faster than smoking. And the people who have them most are often the same ones with the richest inner lives and the most creative output. Nightmares aren't random, and they're not meaningless. They're your brain doing something very specific, and understanding what that something is makes them a lot less terrifying and a lot more worth paying attention to. If this gave you something to think about, drop a comment with the most vivid nightmare you've ever had. I'm genuinely curious, and the replies on these always end up fascinating. Subscribe for more on how your brain works while you sleep, because it only gets weirder from here.